So there's the screw for that. Now the triangle's falling down. What do we do about that? What limits? What limits? Oh, oh, great. That's right. 1080p has a recording limit. Let's talk about getting a 2012 MacBook Pro back up to speed 8 years later. These are some of my favorite MacBooks because they are some of the last ones that Apple made serviceable. One of the problems with the modern Mac is that the modern Mac is not serviceable. You can't repair a modern MacBook the way that you can repair one of these 2012s. And even though these older MacBooks tend to be either Core 2s or first, second, and even third gen Core i-series, the beauty of them is that basically everything is both accessible and replaceable. It being a Mac, of course, it's only replaceable and accessible to a certain extent, but you know, them's the ropes. It's way better than if you have, say, a 2016 MacBook whatever, and stuff's not even upgradable. And some of the... Basically, every MacBook made in the later half of the 2010s, just no upgrades. You can't upgrade anything. It's ridiculous. Oh, you spent $2,600 on a MacBook Pro? Oh, and you want the internal solid-state drive to be bigger? Well, to get 0.05 inches more thickness shaved off of the chassis, we decided to ditch the solid-state drive slot entirely. And you can't replace it. We've soldered it directly to the board. Oh, and your motherboard failed, and you would like to recover your data? Well, our official line is, it's lost, you should have backed up. And you can send it to someone like Louis Rossmann for motherboard repair or whatever. You can send it to Drive Savers for data recovery. You shouldn't have to do that. Oh look, the battery's not glued in like it is on a newer one. So here's the deal. Where we run into problems with these older MacBook Pros, this one, the fan is racing. So we're going to need to take this motherboard out and replace the heatsink grease. And taking the boards out is non-trivial. Another problem is that this hard drive flat cable here, why is that so dark? This hard drive flat cable here goes bad on pretty much any of these that take a traditional hard drive. The cable tends to go bad over time. So one of the things that we're going to have to do, I'm going to put a solid-state drive in here and see if that solid-state drive still functions. If I fire up the MacBook Pro, can I install an OS on a solid-state drive? So I'm going to take this hard drive caddy out here and pull this wire. But one of the problems that you'll run into, other than the video mysteriously getting a lot darker, one of the problems you'll run into is that this cable, if it is bad and you put in an SSD upgrade, you won't be able to install an OS, or you'll have all kinds of weird problems. It's a pretty safe thing to get one of these off eBay for 16 bucks. Make sure it looks the same. Make sure that it matches. The connector direction is a match. Make sure the shape is a match. You know, there's two screws here that hold the hard drive cable in place, and it's got some adhesive, and there is a sensor that goes over to this other side that's held in with two screws. You'll have to peel all that up if you replace this cable. But anyway, if you replace this cable, it's pretty straightforward. You shouldn't have too much trouble. Now, Apple are known for having annoying crap in their computers. So, I'm going to spill all these bits. Where did they go? So one of the things that I have had to do with these Apple machines that I find rather annoying is, there we go. Yeah, let's play bit roulette. Great. This is what I wanted to do with my day. One of the things that you're going to need is a tri-wing screw bit. This is a tri-wing. It's hard to see from here, but it's basically a Phillips, except instead of 4, this is a 00 Phillips, by the way, that I used to disassemble to here. Instead of 4 points, it has 3, because Apple are douchebags, and they don't think that users should be able to service their computers. So they put these crap proprietary screws in, and a warning not to remove the battery, because, you know, users are clearly stupid and will set themselves on fire. Am I right, guys? Ha ha. Yeah. So, take out a couple tri-wing screws here, take out, you know, pop this connector up. Just comes straight up, and your battery pretty much comes out. Did I miss a tri-wing screw? I actually am not sure. I think it's just sticky. Yep, it's just sticky. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and I think I actually have a battery replacement video in the other, from a while ago. So, we have to get this board out because on these older ones, the heatsink grease becomes a problem. It dries up, so to speak. Let's see. So, pull up on this piece of black plastic here, and you can get your display connector pulled. It pulls back away from the connector. There you go. You have to get that off. All of these little flat things here, I would actually normally use a pry tool, but where I put it, I am not sure off the top of my head. I think it's on the other bench. I may have to get it to do these, though, because, hang on just a second. Yep, there it is. Pry tools are very handy. One little note for people who have watched any of my other videos is right now I am using a microphone by, what was it, Senal, that's supposed to be better than the Polson condenser mic I was using. Here's, it pulled my recorder, so you're not really going to get to see it, but yeah, you get the idea. This mic is supposed to be better, but I think one of the benefits of the cheaper Polson condenser was that it's a side address mic, and this thing is kind of, it acts kind of omnidirectional, so you're probably getting a lot more room echo. So, that's not good. Alright, so we need to get this little silver connector here. Needs to go. Pulls out directly back. Anything going to the motherboard is going to have to come up or go. Now, the problem is, these little connectors here, this one and this one, they need to be very carefully removed. I have actually had to resolder one of these connectors before because I broke it off the board, and it just popped off the pads, but it didn't damage them. I did it, but it took me an hour. So, don't screw this up. Get whatever you're going to use, get it under there, and gently pry up, and it should just pop right up and out. But you really don't want to break these connectors off, because otherwise you basically ruin the computer. There we go. And those are the hardest part, in my opinion. You have another little flat cable here. Well, the second hardest part is making sure all these little flat cables that you've popped, that they don't end up laying under the motherboard when you put the board back. That part is not fun either. Anyway, there's a keyboard connector here. This keyboard connector is notoriously annoying to get back because it loops around like this. I really, really hate it. But what are you supposed to do? You know, it's like this flat keyboard connector. If you don't get it in just right, your keyboard and your touchpad, I think, won't work. Actually, this might be the touchpad, but your keyboard won't work. And computers are marginally less useful with no keyboard. So we need to get this motherboard out to replace the heatsink grease. We don't need this tri-wing bit for a while, but Apple, in their infinite wisdom, they really love Torxes. They love star bits, as some people call them. And I don't remember the size that they like. I'm pretty sure it's not a T8. What's this, a T5? That's going to be too small. This is a Phillips 00, so what do I have over here? Oh, that's a 0. Okay. So let's see if I can find the correct Torx. I'm pretty sure it's this one, which is a T7. And is that correct? It falls into the hole, it seems. So a Torx T7. I had a question from a viewer on one of my disassemblies. It was for an all-in-one that I had never disassembled before. And he asked me, I think it's a he, I don't know, but they asked me if I ever take the computer apart before I do one of these disassembly videos. And my response was, no, I don't. I usually just do them because part of what I like to show is the process of someone seeing it for the first time or whatever and figuring it out. Especially with the all-in-ones, a lot of people will try a lot of things, and I feel like if someone sees my process of digging around and trying to figure out how to pry open the all-in-one safely with no prior knowledge of how to do so and without having watched some other guy's video, that it may help them feel a little better about the fact that they couldn't immediately figure it out. Like, this guy has a bunch of disassembly videos, but when he's faced with a new computer, he tried some of the stuff I tried. And, you know, if it builds their confidence a bit, why not? I don't see any harm in showing that I, too, am a human that makes mistakes and has to try stuff, and blah, blah, blah. There are a bunch of little screws in the motherboard, and they're all Torx T7s here. Another thing... Oh, man, I hate this. Another thing about the video stuff here is I am filming this at 60 frames a second, 1080p, instead of 4K at 30p, or rather, 4K at 30 frames a second, because I think it looks nicer and more fluid whenever it's filmed at 60 instead of 30 frames a second. But the loss of the 4K quality may or may not affect people's ability to see fine details. I don't know. I assume that most people are watching this on a mobile phone, so they probably would never notice. By the way, notice this. This screw that came out of this CPU fan, this screw is longer than the motherboard screws. And I think there are 3. Yeah, there are 3 screws holding this CPU fan in. Now, we're going to get into some other stuff here, too, where these wires are going to have to be moved, and I'm pretty sure that I'm going to have to pull a lot more than just the fan and motherboard to get the motherboard out. I seem to recall the DC jack being a particular problem. Fans out. Oh, what's that? Oh, Jesus, what is going on? Is that the shell of a nut? Hold on. Ugh. Oh my God. While you're in here in this gross computer, right? While you're in here, just go ahead and blow this out. You know? I'm gonna take the whole thing out, but if you get down to where you take the fan out, you should go ahead and blow the crap out of the heatsink. So the heatsink wasn't clogged and the fans run at full blast. This tells me, oh yeah, and the mouse stutters. She explicitly said that the mouse would pause, which usually means overheating. Here, I'm going to take these memory sticks out. It's not a bad idea to reseat memory sticks in an old computer anyway, because the contact can kind of wear over time to where microscopically they're not making good contact anymore. What is going on here, dude? Something else is stuck. It's been a while since I've taken one of these apart. Now, I know that the power socket has to come out. I decided not to do it immediately. But the power socket over here has to be removed. Yeah, again, the power socket has different screws from the motherboard. So, yeah, keep your MagSafe socket screws separated from the motherboard. Notice, well, you can't really notice, can you? Here. If you look over here, you can see that I am kind of laying out these screws such that this is the motherboard, this is the, these two right here went to the battery. This is the motherboard, this is the power socket to the right of the board. These three are the CPU fan that's kind of up and to the left. So I'm laying this stuff out in such a way that it kind of resembles how it was laid out on the original board here. Let's see, what else? Oh, that's what I'm missing. Yeah, I remember this now. This thing right here is very annoying. Okay, there's a screw right here. And actually, that isn't needed to get the board out. Hold on. What's holding this? What is holding this at this point? Well, there's no wires coming here. Oh, this was stuck right here. Here, come back in. So, this was stuck on this. Not long from getting this whole mess to come out now. Let's see. It still won't come out though. It's hanging on to something. One more thing it's holding on to, and I'm not sure what. I don't know, but let's get that MagSafe socket to come out. Come on now. Come on, MagSafe. Yeah, you don't want to force anything at this stage. You really need to be careful not to force anything. I really hope this microphone is working better than that other one, because I'm going to be disappointed if it sounds like garbage. What are you stuck on, dude? What are you stuck on? I don't even know what it's stuck on at this point. The MagSafe socket's loose. I don't see a wire. Or do I? Actually, there might be. Yes. Yes, okay, I am. There is, in fact, something else. And this is why you don't force things. You're going to need a Phillips 00 again, and right here, okay, right here, there are 3 screws that hold this weird little black bracket in place, and I know for a fact that these screws are different sizes. So there's a screw here, there's a screw here on the other side of the black bracket. And actually, I don't know that that third one has to come off. No, it doesn't. Okay, so there you go. That little black bracket is out. You can kind of see it there. And there is one more wire, because I forgot about the microphone right here. There is a condenser mic that is attached to the keyboard. Isn't it great that I didn't pull on that too hard? And yeah, we need to get that unstuck. I'm pretty sure it's just adhesived in. Yeah, come on, microphone, get out of there. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck. Well, the other option, it feels like there's another thing holding it over here, too. Oh, that's right. This has to come out. My goodness. Would you look at that? This weird triangle right here, okay? There's this funky triangle thing right here that has to come out. And it's interesting because, let's see, is that a Torx? It is a, looks like a Torx, but what is the angle of this thing? Good lord. Okay. I forgot about the triangle too, here. So, there's this wonky triangle thing here. It has to come out, and it appears the reason I'm having trouble is that it actually is straight on and it's pretty darn tight. So, there you go, right there. Anyway. Recording at 1080p 60 was a mistake because there's a record limit on the Panasonic G7 of 20 minutes per recording. And there used to be a 30-minute limit on mine until I used the developer mode trick to hack it. 4K is unlimited, but 1080p is not. So, sorry about that transition. I had to get everything, yeah. So despite what I've done over here, I've pulled that triangle and it just isn't coming out. That microphone's gonna get damaged if I can't get it out. Oof. Yeah, you have to basically just pry the microphone up. It's pretty ridiculous. It's still stuck on something though. And this is what drives me nuts about these computers. Somehow, this is still stuck. I don't know what's stuck, because I actually don't remember there being anything else in there that can be stuck. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've gotten everything. I think, at this point, it may... Why is it stuck? It doesn't even make any sense at this point. There's nothing else to be stuck. What was that? Well, I don't know. Something was stuck, but I don't see what. I have no idea why it was stuck. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't look like it should be stuck. Anyway, I pried up the mic. I got the socket here, so that's all great. This thing's nasty, so you're going to want to clean this board. But anyway... Here's our pane. Oh, look at that. It's actually a really big set of Phillips screws instead of some wonky, yeah. Here's our pane. This heatsink right here, this plate on this board, oh look, they have springs, and the springs are independent. Be careful of the springs. These things all have springs, and you're gonna have to put them back, and it's gonna be so much fun. So yeah. Right. Goody. So, yeah. There's your processor. There's your heat sink. Very simple piece of equipment. Hit this with compressed air. But yeah, this, is it bad? How bad is it? Let's see. I touch it and it does rub off, but not very much. It's drying out. So, I like to use Bounty brand paper towels because they're really tough, and you can use them, for this kind of thing. But I have a napkin right here, so I'm just going to use a paper napkin, a brown paper napkin, not one of those flimsy ones. This thing is like Russian toilet paper, so to speak. Apologies to anyone who lives in Russia. I'm sure toilet paper is not nearly that bad. But, you know, us United States people were ignorant. So, that may not be true either. Alright, well, I'm going to stop digging myself into a globalist cesspit and just talk about wiping this. You can pretty much, if you have a nice napkin or paper towel, hit it with one wipe, then get another, and then use the third section to just sort of clean it off. Get all of the thermal interface material, the heatsink grease, the thermal compound, whatever, off. And then, oh, this is gross. This is really gross. And then, once you have all the thermal compound off, you can replace it with new, not crappy thermal compound. This stuff I bought on eBay a long time ago. I bought a bulk pack of it relatively cheaply. Thermal conductivity greater than 3.17 watts per meter. What? M.K. I don't know these units. But you want to get thermal paste with the highest thermal conductivity you can get. Because I used to have this gold stuff and the thermal conductivity was like 1 or 1.6. And it didn't work very well. It worked, but not well. So then I went out and I looked for other thermal paste with a higher thermal conductivity. I switched to this silver colored paste that has something like double or more, maybe triple. I still have one tube with the gold stuff somewhere. And I could look, but I'm lazy, so I'm not going to. But I have, I got this stuff and it's 2 or 3 times better than the gold stuff I bought. And the gold stuff worked for several applications. But the problem is, especially with laptop processors, if the thermal grease that you're replacing, if you put new thermal grease that is not good enough on there, well, you wasted your time, basically. So I like to, when possible, lay the plate down and gently rub it in circles. Very gently rub it in circles, just to distribute the stuff. And it distributed nicely. That will make a nice, even layer. You want the layer to be as thin as possible without any holes in the coverage of the material. So get your thermal grease, get one on eBay with a thermal conductivity of 3 or better, I would say. You can buy fancy thermal paste. I only have ever done that once, and I'm never paying $20 for a syringe of, Antec silver, whatever the crap it was, ever again. Because I just didn't care for it. It was going on a processor that needed to dump heat quickly. It was an Athlon XP, and it was the oldest or older variant of it that dumps heat like crazy, like this thing heated my bedroom. But most processors do not need that level, so I wouldn't bother. I don't think the dust on the board would really be a big deal, but I'm going to go blow this thing off at some point here. And just to get the rest of this dust and debris out of here, just because I already have it out, you might as well. And, yeah, that's the heatsink grease on this motherboard. Now, getting this back in is not that much fun. The microphone in particular, I'm actually not entirely sure how to get it to stick back down and stay put, although, my propensity for epoxy is pretty strong. But honestly, the microphone should pretty much stay in place just by laying this down and having the other cabling and brackets and such on top of it. In fact, that black brace goes right over the microphone. So if you put this back in, and you make sure when you do so to put this bracket over the mic, the bracket will hold it even without the adhesive anymore. So that's how you do the heatsink grease on a 2012 MacBook Pro. A little bit more information about this hard drive stuff. The hard drive has 4 studs here, and these studs I think are also T7s. Yep, they are. You'll want to transfer that to any 2.5-inch solid state you put in, or if you're putting in a huge hard drive, transfer these studs. I like to pull this tab off and transfer it as well, just because it can be handy to pry up if you don't have a pry tool. It doesn't always work that well. But transfer the studs. You may need to replace this cable if you put a solid state in. We've gone over that. And that's basically it. There's not much else to do inside of here. I've already taken out the battery, the hard drive, and the motherboard. You can replace this optical drive, although I don't know why you would. Some people remove the optical drive and put in a caddy that gives them a second hard drive. That is also an option. You could put 2 SSDs in and RAID them together, but personally, I probably wouldn't. I would rather have access to a DVD burner built into the computer. So anyway, that's your choice. That's how you disassemble a 2012 MacBook Pro. Installation is the reverse of removal. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this is like a 13-inch, not a 15 or a 17. But, yeah, like I said, you really want to, if you can, just keep these old MacBook Pros. This might actually be 2013. This hard drive, no, this was replaced. I remember them saying that. Keep these old, early 2010s MacBooks and MacBook Pros if you can. This particular one being a 2012, mid-2012, can actually run Catalina, the latest OS as of this video, but the user's going to have me put Sierra or High Sierra on here instead, just because there's some stuff that they want to run that won't run on Catalina. So, yeah, that's it. I hope this has helped you. I hope that this was better than the original MacBook battery replacement video that I did. And best wishes on your computer repair journeys. Take care.